Hi everyone, Sarah here from the Paper Cut. Welcome to the OOAK Scrapalong. We are going to be making one of our library pocket book kits. So it is, this book, and then it has little tags that pull up and down. So if you ordered a kit from me, it will look like this. So we're going to go down to the table and I'm going to talk about what's in your kit. If you didn't get the kit, you could still order the Scrapalong, which has extra pieces, or you could just order the base library pocket book kit. And I'm going to explain what's the different in the two kits. So in our Scrapalong kit, we have our library pocket book kit, which is available in different colors. And then we have an extra packet that has either some circles or some ribbon. Are we down on the table?
Okay.
Sorry, hang on. I thought we were down on the table. We're
Okay,
going
we
down
are.
to the table now.
Yep.
Okay, so in our Scrapalong kit, and I just opened mine up, you have a library pocket book kit. Then you have an extra set of some pattern papers, some words, either some circles or some ribbon. In here there's some different cardstock also. This you can just set aside. You don't really need that right now. Then you also have a sheet that has complete instructions on it, which you don't really have to, you can look at it with me, but I'm going to go through everything that's on here. So yeah, that's two-sided, detailed instructions, but I'm going to go through all that with you. So up to you if you want to follow along on the paper and me, that's fine. And then you also have two pieces of printed paper or pattern paper, more of a text weight paper that we're going to use to cover the cover. And you have two pieces of cardstock for the inside cover.
Debbie Ortega said she can't hear or see you, but everybody else can, so.
So is everybody else seeing me? Let me know. So I'm going to show you what's in the library pocket book kit. So what's in this exact kit, but I'm pulling out a different color. So, okay. Anyways, what's in the library pocket book kit is instructions. They're written instructions. They are definitely not as good as the picture instructions that you have in your Scrapalong kit. But the picture instructions are online on our website under the catalogs and instructions. So I'm just setting those aside. You don't need those at all. Then you have, so open up your library pocket book kit and pull these pieces out. You should have two pieces of mat board, and that's a pretty heavy mat board. Okay, you should have a spine accordion, which looks like this. It has 11 scores on it, so 12 different panels. That we're going to use right away. It has 12 library pockets. Now these are pre-cut and scored, so depending on which one you ordered, your pockets will either be all solid color or they could be a variety. This is the cream and tan kit. Those you can set aside, but we are going to need to use those to assemble our book. Then you have inserts, which again, depending, there's 12 of them because there's 12 of the pockets. So depending on which kit you ordered, they may be a variety or they may be solid colored. We are going to start off with your book board, your spine, and then your pattern paper and two pieces of cardstock. Now, this is different. In the cream and tan one, people got floral stuff, and I was going to use that. However, I have a new grandbaby, and he's a boy, so I totally decided I'm going to do something that has to do with blues and browns. My original cream and tan one was using either this pattern paper or a different one. So, and you have colors in there that kind of match the paper. But I'm gonna do this just because I wanna do something for our new grandbaby and all the pictures that are coming of him. So for this paper and our inside book covers, these are not included in the basic library pocketbook kit. They are included in your Scrapalong kit, and they are loose in there. The paper that we need to cover our pattern paper, I like to use a text weight. This one is a printed paper that is probably like a 65 pound or a little bit less. And I'm using it just because I like the pattern, okay? And in the directions, it says to cut your paper like 6.5 by, or 7 by 8.5. The piece that we're covering is this mat board that is 4.5 by 6. So you just need it slightly bigger. So in your kit, sometimes they're cut only 6 inches because I cut a 12 by 12 in half. And then they're either cut 8 or 8.5 inches. So you just need a piece of paper that is bigger than your mat board, which in your kit, you already have that pre-cut if you're using the Scrapalong kit. So those are the two pieces that we're going to use right now. And I'm going to turn those over. So my printed side is down. And then I have my 2 pieces of mat board. Now this is going to be kind of hard to see, so I am just going to draw. You're not going to draw on yours. I just tend to draw a lot so you can see what's going on. So basically I have my printed paper face down. And then I have and I'm only going to do it on one. And then I have my mat board. Now for covering, there's all different techniques of what people do to cover their mat board. I'm going to show you what I do. And you can do that, or if you have a better way, you feel free to do it your way. But I like to miter my corners. So I take these corners and I chop them off. Now I'm just going to show you how I chop them off and why I chop them off the way I do. Miter is usually a straight like that. It's just cutting the corner off. I like to cut kind of in and angled like that. Now you don't want to cut right up to this corner or too far away. It's kind of a fine line. You kind of want the distance that you kind of want the depth of this mat board. That's how far away you want to cut with the printed paper. And I'm going to cut one corner, and I'm going to show you both ways, either cut too close or cut too far away. So if you want to watch for a minute, you can. So you don't have to be working yet. But I kind of cut mine, you know, at an angle. And if you cut too close, and then you fold your things in, which you don't have to be doing it yet, I'm just showing you, then that corner will kind of stick out. And you're seeing it because I used my marker on there. However, if you cut too far away and you try and fold those corners in, you're going to get this big gappy thing right here that's hard to fold in. So you don't want to cut too close because you don't want that corner sticking out, and you don't want to cut too far away. Okay, so what I always say when you're cutting is you can cut it and then you can always take more off. So you always want to start on the air of a little bit, you know, don't cut too much off because you can always take a little bit more off. So I'm going to cut all 4 of my corners, and when I cut like this, you kind of cover that up. Where sometimes if I don't cut totally straight, I'm going to try that up, you know, just to show you up here. If I don't cut totally straight, I'll end up with a gap right there. So that's why I kind of do it at this little type angly thing right like that. So I'm going to go ahead, and if you want to keep everything in place first, I usually take my mat board, put a little tape on it, and I'm holding it in place. So I take adhesive and I just attach my mat board to my printed paper. It's printed on one side, you know, whiter cream on the other. And I'm gonna do that with both pieces of mat board. For adhesive, while I'm doing this, I like to use a strong adhesive. I use the ATG. If you're using the red line, that's really strong too, but that takes a little bit longer to place it down, peel it up. So whatever you have for strong adhesive. So now I'm gonna go and I'm gonna miter all of my corners around the mat board on both the front and the back cover. So I'm going to, and you don't have to draw, I'm just gonna cut them like so. Remember, don't get too close because you don't want that corner to poke out. And then once I get them cut, and I'm going to do it on both of mine, and I will talk a little bit after so you guys have time to catch up. But once I get them all cut and I make sure that they're going to fold in nicely, so I can kind of test it to fold it in to make sure my corner's not too gappy, or see if I need to, like this one, I'm a little bit far away. So, and I'm using more of like a cardstock, so it did tend to tear a little bit there. Make sure they fold in nicely. Okay, so once you have it cut, you're going to go ahead and you're going to put tape. I sometimes put tape both on my mat board and on my printed paper, just so I make sure to get that holding in nice and strong. Totally up to you. I put tape on my mat board and along the edges of my printed paper. So you can go ahead and work with me. And I'm going to do both. This is the front cover, back cover, or since it's just a pattern, that doesn't matter. It could be either. But if you're using a pattern paper that has words on it, you really want to make sure that you have your words facing the correct direction. So the pink is where I put my adhesive. Again, up to you whether you, sometimes I'll, you know, if I'm being lazy, I'll just put it all the way around my printed paper. But if I have time, I put it also on my mat board. So you can go ahead and do this with both of them. Then you're going to take tape, tape, and then I also do that on my, because I like to make sure my books are going to stay in place. They're usually handled, especially because I take mine to the shows. This one I'm not going to. This one's a special one. And they get handled a lot. So I like them to have lots of adhesive on them to make sure they stay adhered. Once you get adhesive all the way around, then you can just start folding in. Now, since I am using a more of a, it's not a text weight paper, it's a little bit heavier. Sometimes you might need to take and just kind of crease that score a little bit more, or even with a bone folder to bend it around there. You guys all have like more of a lighter weight text paper, so it doesn't really matter. Mine is a little bit heavier. I'm going to fold that in, but now I can show you what this paper, this extra piece of cardstock that is cut just a little bit, it will end up going on here, but not yet, so don't place that down. But that's what this paper is for, is to cover up that yuckiness right there. But don't put it down yet. We have to do our spine first. So now I'm going to go ahead and do the other one. So again, I'm going to miter my corners, and don't do them all the way up to the edge. Get close to that, but not right up to the edge, because you don't want the corner of that mat board poking out. So, and just so you can see, again, here's my mat board. And I'm kind of hoping that my Sharpie isn't going through to the other side. Nope, it didn't. Okay, I'm good. So again, you're going to cut your corners. Don't cut right up to the edge of the mat board, because you don't want them poking out. So the library pocketbook kit holds, it has 12 pockets in it. Each pocket has an insert, and I'll show you some samples later, but you can put up to 36 photos in because you can put pictures on the pockets, plus you can put them on the inserts. Or you can do journaling and such. So again, the pink is where I put my tape, just to fold that cover board. We're covering up our cover board right now. And again, if you want to put it on the mat board plus on the paper that you're using to cover, that's up to you. I do like to do that. So again, we're covering both our front and our back cover right now. Now, if I was doing this in an actual class, I would be saying, okay, who's done? But I can't see if you guys are done or not. So I'll talk a little bit. I talk a lot anyways, but I'll just talk about the accordion when I'm done, while you guys are maybe still finishing up. But if you're done, let me know you're done. Then I'll kind of know where we're at. Otherwise, I know that you're frantically working.
Everybody's quiet.
Yeah, everybody's quiet, so you must all be working. So again, I'm folding my corners in, and I did on this one. I guess I've done this so many times. I didn't like pre-fold in my outside edges to make sure that they worked, but I've done it so many times. But normally, if you're just starting, I say pre-fold in your the pieces that are gonna, just to make sure you've cut correctly. But by not cutting straight across, we made sure to cover up all the way in. Now this is the one I was futzing with, and I might have been a little bit too far out, and I have my Sharpie there. So anyways, I have my front and back covers all covered. Now this is important if you're using something with words on it, or like the Mickey one. Make sure that you have him right side up. So anyways, there's our cover boards. We're just going to set those aside, because right now I'm going to talk about the accordion. So this is going to be what you're going to need next. And I'm going to talk for a little bit, so don't get frantic if you're still working on your cover board. Now the accordion, it is scored every 1 inch, okay? And, oh, let's see. It's scored every 1 inch, so I'm showing the scores. So it has 12 panels. Technically, when you fold this thing, because it's scored every 1 inch on a die, it should fold and they should all pile up on top of each other. But when you have paper, the bump side, there's always a bump side and an indent side. You are always supposed to, and you don't need to do this, I'm just explaining, the bump side is always the inside of a card, okay? So our score things come down and go ka-chunk and hit that, and that's what makes your indent. And that's kind of the same as with your score pal, where you're pushing into your score pal with your little stylus or whatever you're using. So you get the bump side, and you're always supposed to fold in. Well, since this one was with a die that went 11 scores all at the same time, it just went ka-chunk, and it scored all of them at one time. They are all facing the same direction. So technically, when you fold this, you should fold it all in. But since we're doing an accordion, we're folding it back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. So that kind of doesn't work. So I'm just going to set this one here, because this one's a little bit narrower than yours. Yours is actually this wide, okay? We are going to start, and because these are all scored, we're going to start looking at the indent side, and we're going to fold on every score, except we're just easing the score. So we're folding on it, but we're not folding them all on top of each other. So when I say easing the score, we're just kind of folding it in, you know, and unfolding it, going to the next one and folding it in. So the bump is on the back. We're doing a mountain fold on every single one. So you're just going to go, and I usually take my fingers and my palm of my hand and fold fold, 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 fold. No, it came with one fold. So then keep going. And they're all mountain folds. But see how I'm just kind of letting this loose? It's not folded on top of each other. We're just kind of easing that score, because this is the way that you should be folding all of these folds as mountains. Now we're going to go back, and it should kind of look like this, you know. But we're going to go back and we're going to fold mountain, valley, mountain, valley, mountain, valley. So we have our mountain, and then we're just going to accordion fold back, forth, back, forth, back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. So you should have this. They should all pile on top of each other like this. Now, occasionally, this doesn't happen. Why doesn't it happen, you ask? I don't know. So it just, sometimes the paper says, the heck with you, I don't want to fold that way. But technically, these are all scored 1 inch. So I'm going to go ahead and fold my little demo one to see if I can get it to fold the wrong way, or show you what I mean. Sometimes it's a little bit skewed, and mine isn't doing it, which I don't want it to do it, but I want to show you an example, and I think this one is skewing. Okay, so there we go. So sometimes it skews like that, so it's like at an angle, and I kind of forced it a little bit just so I could exaggerate so you could see. So sometimes it folds like that where it's skewed. We don't want that. If that happens, and if that is happening to yours, then this is what you're going to do. Now if yours is perfectly on top of each other, see the good one, like that, don't do anything. Just set it down and wait while I talk to the people that have one that maybe is skewed. So if yours is skewed, you're just going to go and fold opposite. So you're just going to fold all of them opposite. And then that should correct the problem. And mine did. If it doesn't correct the problem, then sometimes you need to take your bone folder and just kind of force it a little bit. But mine corrected. But now I have to get mine back my original way. Okay, so now we have our accordion. You're going to lay it down in front of you so the mountains are on the end. So these are mountains on both ends. And it doesn't matter. 1, 12, it doesn't matter. It's just, you want to have it in front of you so your mountains are on the end. Now, we're going to put tape on panel 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. So I usually do it closer to my valley, but I use a 1/2 inch tape. So you're putting tape on panels 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. Okay, so, and I don't know that I have a library pocketbook kit here. Okay, I don't. I'm going to have to show you this in a little bit, but I'll show you why I put it. I put it more to the middle / the bottom. So the middle and then closer to the valley. You don't want it close to the mountain. So the middle of that panel / closer to the on the valley side. If you're using a 1/4 inch tape, sometimes I'll put 2 rows of tape. If I'm using my 1/2 inch tape, then I'll just put 1. So with your mountains on the end, when you have your mountains on the end, so we have our 2 mountains, we're going to count our panels, and if you want to number them with a pencil, go ahead, because nobody's going to see it. If you want to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, oops, I should use a Sharpie, but if you want to use a pencil, you can. But if you just want to do that as a quick reference so you don't get screwed up, you can go ahead and do that. I should have told you to have a pen or pencil handy. Or you could take a Sharpie. But you're going to put tape on panel 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. Okay, so now we're all going to do that together. So tape on panel 2. Now, and only take it all the way from end to end, and if some's hanging off the end, just kind of push it in. 2,
So Diane Kern says
4.
she's using a bookbinding glue and it's working perfectly.
Oh, nice. That must be a quick, I've never used a bookbinding glue, but that must be like a quicker drying glue. So you have tape on panel 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. And make sure nothing's hanging out. You know, if you have tape hanging out there. And see how I put it more in the middle towards the valley. I gotta keep track. Well, we're doing good for time. So now that you have that, now you're gonna take, and you can just watch for a minute. Well, I can't do this one twice. Well, I can, because I'll do my little sample right here too. So I'm gonna put tape on this one. Just so I can show you all twice, and I might work a little faster than you. Okay, so now what you're gonna do is we're gonna accordion this back together, and you're probably saying I'm nuts, but I'm not. So panel 2 is gonna stick to panel 3, or 4 to 5, 6 to 7, 8 to 9, 10 to 11. So you're just gonna re-accordion that. And you should have panel 1 and panel 12 showing, and then those are your double panels. So let me go do that. And that's why it might be nice with a pencil to put panel 1 and panel 12, because this is sometimes where people get confused, and I never thought about that until just now. When I'm doing it in person, I never have people do that. But with doing it virtually, now I'm thinking, that works kind of nice. So I'm going to do it with mine, so I'm sticking 2 to 3, 4 to 5, 6 to 7, 8 to 9, 10 to 11, and then we have panel 1 and panel 12. So now when I hold it, if I grab all of these bottom ones, well, if I turn it over, that's what I call the NBC peacock. So it kind of looks like the thing on TV, you know, your little NBC peacock. Otherwise, if I hold it by all of these ones that are connected, this is my paper airplane. So, you know, if you cut it, you could make a paper airplane out of it. Now we are going to, and I have my good one, now we're going to miter the corners of this. So I'm going to go to my demo one. And now when I say miter, I am cutting at a straight line. And the reason I'm doing that is in this book, if I take these out, see how this is kind of mitered right there. Otherwise you would have this binding go straight up and down, and so it just has a nicer look to miter those. Okay, so, and again I can show you in, I don't have any books that have different colors on the inside. Oh, this one you can see a little bit better because it's not white on white. So that's the mitered corner. And this is where I was saying that you have the pockets that you can decorate, and you can decorate the inserts. So let's go back to this. When I say miter, I'm cutting at an angle. Now one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to cut right up to this score, because it could tend to rip down the score if you cut right up to it. So I cut it just a hair away from that score. So when I say hair, it's about a 1/16 of an inch. See, there's just a little bit away from that score. Now, to make sure all of these are the same, you're going to take the one that you cut, one of the loose ones on the end, and I'm kind of holding the rest of them, and I'm going to move the next one over and just line it up and cut it. And then I'm going to move the next one over, and I'm going to do this twice because I'm doing it on my demo, plus I'm going to do it on my actual. So you're going to just miter all those corners, and this is just a trick to make them all have the same angle. And then we have our next one. So now they're all cut, they're all mitered. Now we can turn it around and we can do the other side. Now I am just a go for it kind of gal, so I am just going to snip that one. But if you want to have it, you know, perfect, nothing is perfect in crafting, but if you want to make it more exact like this angle, you could take one of your little nubber things here and place that and then cut according to that. I don't really, that doesn't really bother me as much. So I'm just going to take and I'm going to snip. So snip, and again, I am going to do this one more time. So if you're still working, that's fine, but we're just mitering the corners right now. So miter, miter, miter. Just to give a more finished look on the inside of our book. Okay, so that's on my little demo sample where I have all of my corners mitered. I'm going to go ahead and do my real one right now. So again, if you're still working, I'm working with you. So I cut that at an angle. I don't cut right up to that corner. And then I just pull the rest of them in, line it up with the previous one that's cut to get them all at a very similar angle. Now, when we were doing our book covers, let me just talk about that for a minute while I'm snipping, and you guys could already be done. But you could actually take like a piece of fabric to cover your book cover, or you could take something that I've used when I've done in-person demos, and just for glue wise, I've taken the stuff that you put on the inside of your shelves, or what we used to put on the inside of our shelves. And now I've just lost the name of that.
Tacky Mac, maybe, I don't know.
The stuff that you stick on the inside of your cupboards that's tacky adhesive on the back side. So, but that works good for your covers because usually that has a little bit of a coating on it. So it actually keeps them very nice, and it's sturdy and durable, and it's sticky on one side, so then you don't have to worry about all the adhesive. So anyways,
Contact paper.
contact paper, that's it. I just lost that.
Thank you, Martha.
So, anyways, so now we have our binding, and it has the mitered corners. Now, I'm going to take my demo one. Now we're going to bring our two covered book boards back in. And if you have the Mickey one, or you are using words or whatever, just make sure that you have them both facing the same direction. Mine doesn't really matter because I just have this. So these are the front and the back covers. This binding, now this one is short because this is just the one I'm using as a little demo. So this one is short, but in theory, this is what our number 12 or number 1, which is our loose piece, attaches to one side. Then we attach our book cover to the other side. And then this is our spine where our library pocket books attach. Okay, so when you're putting this on here, we always want the spine pieces facing inside because our book library pockets are going to attach right here. Now, I have had, this is the biggest problem when people do this, is they turn that around and the spine is going this way, and then their pockets are actually going out of the book. So, very important that your little spine opens up to the inside. So we're going to put tape, and I can't do my actual with this short one. So I'm going to show you with the short one, and then I am going to do my good one. So we have our, well, first we have our paper airplane. So we have our two, all of our bindings that are folded, are doubled. And then we have our number 1 and number 12, which are our single pieces. Now, if we're holding it like a paper airplane, if we take those in, we're just holding it flat, kind of like when we were snipping off our things. We're going to put tape on the top of one of those. And you can put tape on this whole thing. Okay, and then you're going to attach it. And when you attach it, you're attaching it fairly close to the edge. So you don't want it too far in. You don't want it, I put it about 1/16 of an inch away from that edge. So pretty close to the edge of that paper. And it will go top to bottom. So let me get mine. So I have mine. And it doesn't matter if it's side 1 or side 12. but I'm gonna put tape on there. So tape, tape, tape. Okay. Make sure there's no tape hanging out. So now our taped side is gonna attach. Make sure your accordion piece, your peacock, is facing the inside of the book. You want your peacock facing in. And this flat edge is going to attach fairly close to the edge of your book binding, or your book cover. And it will attach close to the top, close to the bottom, and it will be angled in, so your accordion is facing in. Then,
You miter both top and bottom?
yes, top and bottom are both mitered. Top and bottom are both mitered. So that's another way that you know that you're putting your binding on correctly, is because the miters kind of point to the inside. So mitered top and bottom. And when I attach one side, which is our number 12, our one loose one is attached right here. So let me go to so I put tape on our number 12 and we attach it. And then when we just kind of open that up, we can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then our number 1 is our 6th one. So it should look like that on the inside. So now I'm going to put tape on top of this is our loose one, our number 1. We're going to put tape on top of here. So tape on top of there. And you don't want any tape hanging out. So no tape hanging out. If it is hanging out, just rub it in. Now we're going to take our other cover and attach that. So technically it is attaching like this. So we have our 2 single binding pieces, single panels attaching to the book board, and then these are our double panels that are attached together that are the inside of the book. But it's hard to do it this way because you can't see, so I like to hold this nice and flat, and then I like to line up my book covers. So I like to line up the corners of my book covers. And it does take a little bit of contortionist here to get it all lined up, and that little binding is wanting to flop open. Our little peacock wants to spread its wings. But then when we open it, so now I have it attached, and when we open it, I have my 2 cover boards, and on the other side I have my inside of my book with our 2 single panels on the end, and then our double panels make our peacock. So I think everybody's there. I'm just going to talk about why I put the tape more towards the middle or the bottom. As we get our, so if you're still working, I'm just talking right now. As we get our pockets in there, it starts to spread out a little bit. So if we would have taped all the way up to here, you'll kind of see that tape separating. But we wanted to not put tape all the way to the end, because otherwise it's going to have a hard time separating. And your book is going to kind of stay open like this, where if you put your tape more towards the bottom and the middle of the valleys, it gives that book some flexibility to open up, okay? The other thing is, on a lot of my books, you'll see...
Question.
Oh, question.
Are the top and bottom covers touching each other?
They could be close to touching each other, but they will separate. So, like initially, yes, they probably are very close to touching each other. You don't want them past each other, but they will separate as you start adding your pockets into there. Okay, so yes, if they're touching, that's fine, but because you didn't put your tape all the way to the top of the mountains before, that will allow those to separate as we add pictures and our library pockets.
Good question.
Okay, so anyways, what I was saying is all of my books usually have bindings, and they kind of cover up that spine, and you're going to wait and put on after you have your pockets in there and all your books. This is the first time I've used burlap on them, but I think that adds a nice touch. or you could use fabric or something there. I've done that before too.
Question.
Question.
Do you sell 14-inch long paper in different colors?
We have on our website 11 by 17 and 15 by 18. Pretty much any of our stocks you can get in those sizes. But it's a minimum of 50, so you might want to, if you have a group of people, you know, go in on them together. So anyways, we're sitting right here. Now the other last two loose pieces that you had in your kit were just two pieces of cardstock. Those pieces, earlier I mentioned that they cover up this, you know, just blank space right there. And that's exactly what I said, don't attach them, because you're going to cover up that binding, so you're going to use that to cover up that inside. Okay, so now you can take and put adhesive on both of those, and it usually will sit very close up to your score. And if, depending on, you know, if you moved that in just a little bit further than mine is, you might have to take a little hair off that. So, but those fit pretty good on there, and that just covers up, especially if you're have any openness right here, usually that comes pretty close to covering that up. It just kind of finishes off the inside of that book. So I'm going to go ahead and put tape on my two pieces. I'm going to put tape on my other piece while I'm at it. And and you can put it down the middle too. Maybe I will do that. I like to use a lot of tape when I'm taping for my books. So one piece is going to attach face down here on the inside of the back cover. The other one's on the inside of the front cover. So inside of one cover. And you don't really have to pay attention to front or back yet unless you have writing or trees or something that can't be upside down. So that is the bones of our book. Now we have to get to our library pockets. So let me just talk about those for a minute. We can kind of just set this aside. Now, library pockets, there are 12 of them. They have tape tabs, and you have your bump, so you have your scores, which if you're doing it, you can actually see, but for those of you that aren't doing it, there are scores on there. And these are called tape tabs. Now the tape does not go on this side of the tape tab. You always fold that tape tab in, fold it in, and you put tape on top of the tape tab. So tape goes right here. And this I do try and put, you know, tape pretty much from edge to edge on here, just so it attaches it really nice. Now don't do it, but if you were to put tape here and then fold this, then you're losing almost an inch on the inside, because if there's taping those down, then our inserts won't fit in there, because right now the inserts fit. But if you do tape those down and then fold and then put tape on the top, that tapes those down and then our inserts no longer fit. So if you do that by mistake, you're going to have to trim your inserts. So don't do that. So you're going to fold it in, put tape on top, and you can either use a 1/2 inch tape or a 1/4 inch tape. These tape tabs are exactly a 1/2 inch. So if you use a 1/2 inch tape and they're hanging off, you want to take your finger and just roll that in, because you don't want tape hanging out. But you do want to make sure that they're well adhered, especially near the top where stuff is sliding in and out. And you also, if you have tape hanging over to the inside, you have to roll those in, because otherwise it's going to tape your pocket shut. You don't want any tape hanging out anywhere. but I do like to have a good amount of adhesive up here because then it attaches the pocket really nice, especially where you're sliding the insert in and out. So then you can fold right here and just attach that, and that makes our pocket. So our little inserts can slide in and out. If I can see to get it in, there we go. So the inserts slide in and out. So that's why you want them very well taped up here, because you don't want them getting caught on underneath there. So our inserts go in and out, and I usually don't put my inserts in until the end. So right now you're going to go ahead and you are going to do all 12 of your library pockets. Oh, and we are getting down there in time. So I am going to get a few of my library pockets so I can show you, and actually you guys go ahead and get for sure 4 library pockets done, and then we are going to attach those 4 so you know how to attach your pockets. So I'm going to do mine kind of fast so I can talk a little bit about products, but go ahead and get 4 done. We've got about 10 more minutes. Usually I can get this done in an hour, but I think I just went slow and repeated stuff with the virtual thing. I like to do that so then everybody can follow along nicely. So you might not get all of your pockets in before the next presenter starts. So if you're doing that next one, you might have to stop on your pockets, but I'll get you going on them. If you're just watching the next presenter and you aren't crafting along with them, by all means you can keep going on this book. So I'm going to get 4 of mine done, then I'm going to talk for a little bit. Well, give you guys a little bit of time to get 4 or more done. But 4 will give you a really good start for attaching them in your book. So the library pocket book kits come in a variety of different colors. So we're working on the cream and tan one today, but there's the black and white, which is always very nice because it's easy to convert all your photos to black and white, and then you don't have to think about other colors. But we do have a beach set also. We have just a white set. We have a cream set. There's a harvest set, which I'll show you that one. Question.
Is this kit still available?
I do have the kit still available. I don't have any of the tan one left. I do have the black and white, the Disney, and the beach. I have to buy my paper for my front and back cover, so I'm just out of the cover paper for the tan one. So you can still get the tan one, just not as the Scrapalong kit. You can get the base kit that doesn't have all the extra pieces and parts. Because in the extra pieces and parts, you guys have extra cardstock for embellishing, there's some words, and then there's either the ribbon or the circles, which I want to get to those. So I'm not going to do all of mine, but the beach, has very beachy colors to it. So that's the beach one. The Disney one has black, white, and red. The black and white one, which I mentioned, is with black pockets, black spine, and then white inserts. And then the kind of outdoorsy one has some, and now these pockets I stamped before I put them in the actual book. So, but you could definitely use pattern paper to cover. So, let's talk about our pockets here really quick so I can show you how to attach those. So we have our inside of our book, and we have some of our pockets. Now, I normally will put one pocket on the inside front cover first, and it's usually I leave just a small space between the bottom of the book, the edge of the book, and also the score of the book. Okay. Question.
Can you show us how you attach ribbon to the inserts, please?
Yes, in just a minute. Let's get through the pockets. And then I do have a little demo here, or a little sample that I can show you how I attach the ribbon, okay? So, you're gonna put tape on the back of one of your pockets. And attach that to the inside front cover. Now you don't ever want to attach it too high, like if you say, how come I don't put it in the middle? The reason that you don't put it in the middle is because once you put your tag in there, you don't want your tag up above. So that's why I attach my pocket fairly close to the bottom. So I'm attaching one pocket to the inside front cover, and probably about 1/8 to 1/4 inch from the bottom, about 1/8 of an inch from this side, and that puts it about 1/8 of an inch from your score. Okay, now to get all of these pockets lined up, you're going to take your next pocket, and it is going to attach to the spine. But I usually put tape down one side of my pocket. So just tape right there. Tape down one side of your pocket. Now when you're attaching your pockets, always make sure that your opening is up. I line up this first pocket that's already in the book with the pocket that has the tape on it, and then I'm just taking the binding and attaching it. So now I have my inside front cover, the next pocket. Now the third pocket, pocket number 3, is going to sandwich this binding and attach to that pocket. So now I put tape on the whole back part, and it is going to stick. So it's going to stick all the way around. And it's even going to stick because it's going to cover up, it's going to sandwich this binding. So your pockets are back to back. So I put tape all the way around, and then I line up my pockets, and it sandwiches that spine. So that's how I get my pockets so they're all lined up. Now as you start doing your book, your pockets may start to creep further and further from that spine. So then you can just creep them a little bit back in if you need to. So I'm going to go ahead and do the next one. So tape on the back of pocket number 3. And I am going to attach that to the back of pocket number 2.
4 minutes.
Yep. And line up those pockets. Now for the next one, I'm going to do just what I did for number 2. I took my next pocket, so it's going to attach to this binding. I put tape down the side. I line up my pockets, and then I take my spine and just fold it over onto it. Now we're going to do the same thing that we did for this one. We're going to put, and I did 5 of them, we're going to put tape all the way around the back, and I'm getting to the ribbon thing in a minute. So as soon as I put this one down, so I'm putting tape all the way on the back, and I am lining those pockets up. Now it's going to sandwich that one spine. So then I continue that for all the rest of my pockets. I didn't put my pockets all the way up to the spine because then it gets too crowded in there. As you start to get your pockets in there, it will start to pull apart your spine. Now, for ribbon, in my black and white book sample, I took and I just used a stapler, and I actually folded my ribbon in half and attached it with a staple. For my other one, I take my ribbon, fold it in half, punch a hole, put it through the hole, and I have my one loop on one side and my bunny ears on the other. I pull them through. Now don't just yank on it because you might rip right there. So I tend to just pull it a little bit to make that loop smaller, and then I pull straight up. And then you can cut your ribbon how you want to cut it. So your when you have a variety, I usually put them in there, just alternating colors. But I don't start, if I have ones that are the same color as this background, I don't usually start with that one. The other thing, some of you have circles. When you're doing circles, you have 24 circles. So you could put a circle back to back, or you can just put a circle on one side. That's up to you. But your pictures fit in there. When you're attaching your layers, on your inserts especially, try not to go all the way out to this edge, because it gets a little thick in there to have it go in and out really good. So on your library pockets, you can go edge to edge with your decorations. On your inserts, try not to go edge to edge. Try to stay a little bit away from that edge when you're attaching your pictures.
1 minute.
So I think, oh, and the other thing, you can use anything you want up here. You either have circles, which we did add some circle shapes to our website that are pre-cut. So those are on our website right now on the scrapbooking page. Or you can use ribbon, or like this one, I just used a straight cardstock piece. I did use buttons once. They're too thick, and then your book actually doesn't close, so don't use buttons. But yeah, the book you can just decorate however you want, you know, with your pictures and your words. You won't have enough things to decorate, but you can use what you have in the packet to decorate, and then might have to add some of your own pattern paper or whatever. So that is our library pocket book kit, and again, you can get the kit for the class today, or you can get just the kit, which is the bones of the kit, and you can add your own embellishments. Question?
What did you put on the front of the beach one?
The beach one. So the beach one, I just put a picture on it. And again, oh, that was my last thing. When you're doing your binding that's going around, and I'm just going to take, this is just a scrap piece of cardstock. Wait until you get all of your pictures and stuff in there, because it will separate. And then I just like to use my binding as part of the decoration on the front. So don't actually decorate the front of the book until you have your binding on it. So decorating the front of my book, I usually do last. This one, I kind of screwed up. I decorated the front first, and that's why I have a really thin border over here. But I like to actually use you know, the binding that I'm putting as part of the decoration on the front of my book. And you can just use a piece of pattern paper, a piece of burlap, a piece of fabric, whatever you want. So something that coordinates with it.
They love it.
So, thank you for joining me today. I will be saving this on our YouTube channel, so if you want to rewatch it, you can either rewatch it here or you can catch it on my YouTube channel. Thanks much and have a great day scrapping.